Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are happy to present our next speaker, Andy Stone, with SunGard Availability Services. SunGard Availability Services. Please give him a warm welcome.
All right, thanks, and thanks for the intro. My name's Andy Stone. I'm a senior product manager with SunGard Availability Services. I specifically have product management responsibility for our AWS products. Today we're going to be talking about legacy workloads in the cloud and what you can do to kind of grease the skids for migrations into the cloud and how we can help. So it's a now almost famous quote, "Friends don't let friends build data centers," was delivered 3 years ago at reInvent. However, will those same friends help you get out of your data center? They're saying that you shouldn't build new ones, but what are you going to do with your legacy environment, and how are you going to make that shift into the cloud? Now, there's a lot of reasons that people are moving to the cloud now. There's commercial reasons. Sometimes you have a data center that's coming end of contract, and you have specific licensing needs to move you into the cloud. Sometimes it's just an executive mandate. So my specific example was an executive mandate. About a year ago, I moved into a new house. This new house was much larger than my old house, and all of a sudden, I needed a new table. This table needed to be able to sit quite a few more people than my previous one did. I had a tiny little kitchen that would seat 4, and now we're entertaining people. I need to sit 8 people. I need to sit 10 people. So I had an executive mandate. That executive happened to be my wife, and she said that I need to go out and build a new table. I've dabbled in woodworking here and there, but a table is a whole nother situation. So I went out online, I found some plans. The plan said, build a table for $100. I said, oh, that's great. Most furniture places are charging $2,000 for a table. So I go out and I start purchasing everything I need. Well, the wood wasn't $100, it was $200, $250. And then I had to start buying tools. So just like you would in your migrations, I had to start buying the tools to make this table happen. So this table required a new table saw. It required a new router. It required new sanders. It required a jig. All told, it's probably around $1,800. So at this point, I'm about $2,000 in on a table, where I could have just bought one. And then I had to spend some time, a lot of time. I spent probably 3 months, nights and weekends building this. And now that I'm done, I'm going to have to go back and redo it. The joinery on it isn't great. It's not ideal. I live in St. Louis, where we have wild swings in humidity. Wood shrinks, wood expands. We have problems, we have gaps. So I'm going to have to rebuild this in about probably 2 or 3 years. However, after all of this mess, I would go back and do it again. I would do this because it was a great skill for me to learn. And the time that I spent doing this, a lot of the time was spent building it with my kids. So this is a very sentimental project for me. So the question is, are you going to be similarly sentimental when it comes to your cloud migrations? So the real case for DIY is focus on where you're good, what you're actually good at. Are your customers going to care when you move to the cloud? Are you going to deliver specific value in the cloud, or are you just moving what you have today to the cloud and it's the same old stuff? Do you have your resources to architect in the cloud? Those resources are out there on the show floor today, but if you're looking to hire those resources, they're quite expensive, and if you're looking to train new resources, that can be a pretty big expense too. Do your resources have the skills to do it correctly the first time? Now, when I see those little gaps in the table, I go back and I think, oh, that was great. That was when my daughter was helping me. There's a little gap in it. It's no big deal. Are you going to feel the same way when your database tables drop? Are you going to look back and say, oh, I remember that night when Dave, the DBA, was working on that, and that was a great line of code that he wrote? No. There's no room for sentimentality in business. So, and then are you getting all you can out of your infrastructure? So when we migrate to the cloud, don't just take what you have today and move it there, because you still have the same mess, whether it's in your data center or in the cloud. And then after you've deployed everything, are those same resources that you've used to deploy, are they going to assist you in your ongoing support? So again, those same resources, those certified resources, are quite expensive to go out and hire, and they can be a real challenge to have your existing team skill up. So when we talk about cloud deployments, we really look to provide value to our customers and really look to extend their current data center environment into the cloud, where they are not just getting their current functionality, but they're getting new functionality as well. So for today, we're going to take a look at a specific deployment that we did for an IoT company, or rather a transportation company that has quite a few IoT devices. They currently have 80,000 IoT devices split across 30,000 different trucks in Europe. They were writing terabytes of data to their data center, but all that data was providing them was audit capability. They could go back and tell themselves where a truck was 3 days ago or 4 days ago, but they couldn't tell you where it was right now and if it was experiencing any issues. So we had some specific challenges when we were migrating this customer in. They had very peaky workloads, so they were slow on the weekends when they're not delivering a whole lot, and then on Monday morning, all that traffic spikes like crazy, and they're using what we actually call legacy devices at this point. It feels weird to say legacy IoT devices, but that's what this company has. They were installed in the late 90s, and they're really reaching end of life, but the customer still needs to use them. So we specifically went with the AWS IoT platform for this deployment. We were really happy with the device gateway and message broker and how that would work. It would scale really immediately and almost infinitely, and it really allowed us a lot of flexibility inside of the environment. So when we deployed this with 5.5 million IoT rules executed. This produced nearly 2.6 million, or nearly 2.7 million AWS IoT messages, and we had 115,000 simultaneous connections from trucks. We were doing auto scaling using some pretty large R4 4XL instances. We'd go from 2 to 9 instances, and we had 3,000 Docker containers on top of each one. So what did this look like? The IoT devices inside of trucks would hit an elastic load balancer into Docker containers running on that auto scaling group with the R4 instances. We'd then use the IoT engine to feed into a VPC for our Dynamo and RDS Lambda, all using Elasticsearch. We'd then deploy that across Lambda back into an SNS topic into the API gateway to then feed these IoT smart devices, which are the actual handheld devices that the drivers are using. And then we can take all of the alerts coming out of that VPC and deliver those into a Slack channel for our customer. So anytime a truck hits a certain speed threshold, anytime a truck is somewhere where it shouldn't be on its route, we can immediately deliver that alarm back to their control center, and they can really take that information and make it immediately valuable. However, what we've noticed with AWS is that every once in a while you have a problem. You start losing S3 buckets. Maybe your Dynamo DB tables aren't working anymore. Maybe you've lost the ability to auto-scale. And that's really where we start delivering on our core competency at SunGard, which is our ability to deliver these resilient managed services, our fully recoverable production services. So if we go back into the recovery architecture, when we architected this, we didn't just architect it with production in mind. We architected it with potential failures in mind as well. So the first thing that we do is we use our open source tool called Condensation, which is available today out on GitHub. It's been available for about 2 years now, and we use it in all of our AWS deployments. It allows us to continually modify and redeploy CloudFormation scripts without going in and manually manipulating individual lines of code. We pair that with S3 replication and Dynamo DB table replication into a source VPC in a different region. We take that EBS volume replication, which is part of our cloud recovery for AWS product. And then at time of test or disaster, so if we start losing those S3 buckets, if we lose those EC2 instances, we are instantly deploying inside of a new region because all of our data is already there. We're rehydrating that data. We're presenting it to EC2 instances. And everything is back up and running in a matter of minutes. So when we talk about S3 failures, the one that we saw back in February was, I believe, 7 or 8 hours. So you're down for an entire day. But when we're utilizing our recovery services on top of production, the total outage time is around 10 to 15 minutes, which is a really just dynamic deployment for the customer. So all in all, what this delivered for our customer was real-time analytics for their entire fleet. Before, they just had audit data. audit data is great if you need to know where something was last week. But what this delivers now is that ability to automatically see where everyone inside of your fleet is at all times. We can also use this to push updates to devices at turnup. Like I said, these devices aren't on all the time. They're off on the weekends. So what we can do now is create a new image, create that ghost image, and then as soon as that device comes up inside of the delivery truck, it sparks a connection to the Docker instances inside of EC2, and we will automatically take that update directly from the device shadow to the device. So that means that we don't have to be there and be around every time a truck turns up to update that device. It will do it automatically when it turns on. We're also doing dynamic metric alerting for the customer. So like I mentioned before, we can do speed alerts for the customer, and we can pair that with GPS data from Open Maps. So we can actually, the same as you would in your car, it knows what, if you have a fairly new car, it knows what the speed limit is on any given street. We're doing that for the customer now too. So if the truck is breaking the speed limit and it doesn't matter what street it's on, we know that that's happening. So the customer was using audit data, using all of this for audit data before, and they're continuing to use that for audit data. But what we found is that we have a much greater audit and compliance stance with the customer now inside of AWS. It's not just about the data being there and available inside of the colo space anymore. It's about the data being there and available, and we know we have specific log alerts going on, so there's no ability to modify those logs. We're doing all sorts of log management for the customer, and that prevents any sort of security issues inside the customer's logs. We can do that auto-scaling for local resiliency, so that auto-scaling is happening across multiple regions. And then, as I mentioned, doing the recovery between AWS regions really gives you that fully resilient solution. So when we go back and take a look at lessons learned, I really do think there is a case for DIY in the IT field. If you're going to do it, know your costs up front, know exactly what that deployment is going to look like. You have to know where you differentiate. So if you're just taking your existing infrastructure and moving it to the cloud, that's not going to help you at all. Your customers don't care if it's the same infrastructure. What you need to do is take specific action and look where the cloud can provide you with specific business benefits when moving. You need to know how you'll support after implementation, because it's a lot different than it is inside of your data center today. And you have to know if cloud is going to solve your problems or just move your problems. If you're just doing a lift and shift, that's not solving any of your problems. What I would personally recommend is go out and find a partner, one that will help you solve for today and architect for tomorrow. When we work with customers, we're really helping them utilize all of the individual features that are available inside of AWS and really making their deployments valuable. That partner should allow you to focus on your business and not on your infrastructure. And finally, that partner should be able to deliver on a promise of fully recoverable production services, which is what we do at SunGard. So thank you, everybody, for joining today. If you'd like to learn more about our cloud assessments, come visit us in booth 2019, which is straight down. You can actually see us from here. Yay. Thank you.